in the fall and are participating. We're going to have our cross-country head coach, Cameron Root, come up. Cameron, if you would, come give us a statement about your team, please.
Good morning. How are we doing? Good. Well, I'm excited for the season. We just had our first opening meet a couple weeks ago at App State. It went pretty well for us. We went second on the men's side and third on the women's side out of 8 or 9 teams, depending on which gender. It was a pretty competitive field, and so we performed really well. You know, when you're a new coach and you come into a new team, there's a lot of different situations that happen and a lot of adjustments that sometimes can lead to some slower starts in some situations, but thankfully everybody bought in immediately and immediately started doing kind of the system that I was looking for and training kind of how I was hoping to have them train. And we've had a really smooth transition, and so everybody came in ready to roll, and I think we opened up in a really, really strong fashion, beating some teams that are, you know, ranked regionally and things like that. So super excited for the season. We've got a home meet coming up this weekend, right before we head over to the football game. So it'll be awesome. It'll be good to get everybody here, get to see some families come in for family weekend, and then get to go enjoy those festivities afterwards, and hopefully we can get a win on our own campus and light the bridge multiple times that day.
Running's a very individual sport, but as a new coach, you come in with 2 different teams now and oversee them. How do you bring everybody together? Because you mentioned everybody's bonding, but how do you get them to that level?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the main goal is to get everybody to realize that even though it's an individual sport, we're still competing for a team championship and for team successes as well. And so it is very individualized in some ways, but it's also very team focused in other ways. So in cross country, you have to have 5 people get to the finish line, you know, at a lower finish overall than the other teams do. And so you can't do that unless you also have your teammates with you pushing you to get to the finish. And so a lot of us is working on getting everybody used to running in groups, using each other to run faster, which I know is a concept that might be a little bit weird to non-runners, but getting people in packs and competing, because when things get hard, it's a lot easier when you have people with you pushing you to be competitive.
What's the strength of this team? What do you think that you've been able to see thus far? I know it's early.
Yeah, that's a great one. So I think each team is a little different. So on the men's side, we have a lot of age, and so it's a very mature group. We do have a few younger runners, but they're very competitive. They can hold each other accountable. They know immediately what they're doing. I tell them what to do. They get to it immediately. And so it's a very mature team. There's not many issues. Typically, I tell them what to do. They're immediately on it, which leads to a lot more consistency in races, consistency in training, and it's a lot more competitive when you have that. And on the women's side, it's the complete opposite, which is also a strength, where we have a really, really young group. I mean, right now, I think at this point, due to an injury or a sickness, really, we're down to almost nobody from last year's top 5 are back. And so it's a very, very young group. And with that being the case, we have 3 or 4 freshmen that are in competition to be in our top 5. And so it's super exciting in some ways, but it's also a little scary in other ways. But with that being said, they're handling it well. A lot of times they're more open to learning new things, and they're more excited to try new things, and so you can push their boundaries a little bit more, whereas when you're a little bit older, sometimes it's harder to push things that they're so used to and accustomed to. And so I think even though they're complete opposites, I think there are strengths to both sides of it.
You're a veteran of Lewis Ganey coming and talked to the program recently. What was that like? What kind of advice did he offer to the team? What did you learn as a coach as well?
Yeah, absolutely. He is a veteran. He is a legend of the sport out of Georgia, and so he was an awesome tool to use, and it's awesome that John Peach was able to make that happen. But he came in, and for the kids, I think it's awesome just to see how he did things with little resources then, because he coached at Georgia in the 70s and 80s, and so the resources at Georgia, even at Georgia, were not very good at the time. And so he showed that you can be super competitive no matter what you have to work with. Really, at the end of the day, it's you individually that kind of chooses what kind of commitment level you're going to have. And so I think they really bought into that immediately and loved hearing those stories of, you know, working with all the legends that he's coached over the time. And for me, it was just cool just to talk to somebody that's been in the sport for so long. The landscape of the sport has changed dramatically in the last, 30, 40, 50 years. And so just seeing the shifts and seeing how far the sport has come, and then learning also some of the things that are very similar and some of the coaching strategies and tactics that still work from then to now. And so I got to talk to him for a while prior and afterwards, and he's an awesome guy, and it was really cool to learn some of the stuff he had.
Anything else, Coach Root? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, of course, should be an exciting weekend. It's family weekend. I'm